Welcome back to our conversation about the Massachusetts Republican Party, or what's left of it, what kind of future it has, with our guest, GOP activist Anthony Amore. So, Anthony, what does the Massachusetts Republican Party stand for in your mind? You noted that it's divided. But what does it mean to be a Massachusetts Republican? What should it mean?
Well, to me, it should mean the party of Leverett Saltonstall and Edward Brooke, the sort of compassionate party that looks at government as a necessary part of people's lives, but tries to make sure that it's not too intrusive and that we're not that we remain a nation in a state of laws rather than men, with an emphasis on fiscal responsibility. I think that's sort of what Governor Baker represented, and I think that's why he was popular across the board. This idea of being hard on problems and soft on people, that's what I think the Republican Party should be. I don't think it should be in the extremes, but right now it's heavily geared towards the extremes.
Well, former Governor Baker opposed new broad-based tax hikes and was a voice of opposition to some spending initiatives. But during his 8 years, the state budget continued to mushroom. Sure. And it's my perception that basically Baker decided that, look, this is what voters in Massachusetts want. They want big government. They want activist government. They want these increases in spending. And, you know, the horse has left the barn there. So where does that leave Republicans in your vision?
Well, I don't think that government should have no role, though. I think there's a place for government to be very active, of course, right? And I really believe in the social safety net and the rest. It's not this hard right ideology. And we also have to remember Governor Baker had a veto-proof majority of Democrats to contend with. So, you know, he didn't have all the power that he could.
Right, but he had the bully pulpit.
Sure. That
he could use. He could summon the cameras and make his points, which he did from time to time, not always. I mean, the Lions wing of the party refers to him as a rhino, Republican in name only. How do you get past that kind of attitude?
I don't know if you can, and that's one of my pet peeves, right? Because I was called a rhino, of course, not based on policy, but based on the fact that I'm friendly with the governor, former governor. But I would say this: anybody who calls another person a rhino has to try to make the argument that there's an advantage to running as a Republican if you don't really believe in it, which is laughable. Why would someone pretend to be a Republican for the lack of funds, for the smaller fundraising base, for the media being, I believe, tilted, you know, center-left in Massachusetts, at least the major newspaper? You just don't have the advantages that a Democrat would do. The unions have a very, very big voice in Massachusetts. Republicans don't get their support. So to say you're a Republican in name only is an absurdity.
Now, you've run, we just have about a minute left here, you've run twice statewide. Are you done as a candidate?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who's out there? I don't think we'll see Charlie Baker running again, although that remains to be seen. Who's out there if you're successful in getting rid of Lions and returning the party to this vision you outlined, who's out there to help lead it?
Well, I have a few people. First, I would say Lieutenant Governor Polito still has a bright future ahead of her and a lot of money in her war chest. There's Sheriff Lou Evangelidis out in Worcester, who's fantastic. Kevin O'Connor, who ran for Senate a few years ago, who's my ideal Republican. There's Brian Shortsleeve, who I think would be a tremendous candidate.
Former MBTA board member.
Yeah,
yep. And
many more. And I hope that by bringing Amy into the leadership, that there'll be more female candidates that will want to step up and run for major offices in the Republican Party too.
You'll be there Tuesday night? You're thinking about it?
I'm worried about leaving disappointed. I'm not sure.
All right. Well, we will be watching closely, and we'll be looking forward to having you back to talk about the results at a later date, Anthony. Thank you for being here.